Bug-Out Survivor. 2 packs in this one. The one I'm sat on is the full-size CS95 Bergen, and next to it is one for the ACF, which is 50 litres, so a good, apparently 70 litres smaller. And the side rocket pockets on the Cadet Bergen, which is this one, the side rocket pockets are not detachable. So the crux of today's video is how much of the CEMO in the senior Bergen is going to fit into the much smaller Cadet Bergen, and that's MOD approved. If what you're doing is carrying things for a wild camp, or you're a hobbyist who enjoys things like your fishing, your stargazing, whatever your hobby is that involves a sleeping bag, a bivvy, a basher, then this might be the ideal thing for you. And I've always said you only need 3 things: shelter, insulation and a cook set. That's going to keep you going. It's going to keep you warm, dry, well fed. You could stop there and have nothing else and be in good order. I know what a lot of you are thinking is, with this much lighter, smaller Cadet pack, exactly how much of the important kit from my CEMO am I going to get into here? And it makes a good little seating pad as well. I have a luggage scale here which I'm going to turn on, and I want to see, including only the basic contents of shelter, insulation, I want to see how much it all weighs. So let's lift this up. That can't be right. That's That's 12.3. About 12.5 kilos. That's including the pack weight, which is 4.5 kilos. Including the contents, I only need to weigh this Bergen, which is next to nothing. I don't think it'd even show on them luggage scales, but what we'll do is fill all the contents that I have from the senior Bergen into the Cadet Bergen. And a lot of people always want to know about the Cadet Bergen and ask which one it is. And then, of course, once they find out it's for cadets, they somehow go off it. And what I'm saying in this video is, if you're an adult and you have got used to the idea of only carrying the minimum amount of comfortable kit, then this might be for you. Of course, if you can't see the logic of that, and you often overload your pack, you want to put a saw in, an axe in, extra wool blankets, steel or cast iron frying pan, skillet, those kind of things, very bushcrafty things, then I would keep to the senior Bergen, the CS95. But I have always advocated, if you're going to use good heavy kit, then to use small amounts of the right kit rather than a ton of kit you're never going to need. Now, when I talk about the marching order here, what it is the sleep components, really. I'm going to take this smock off. Now, another thing I don't do on a personal level is use smocks, but I have one on today just because I'm carrying extra camera gear and a flask and those bits and pieces that I had in my pocket. This for a wild camp is too much. It's not waterproof. If it gets wet, it's going to stay wet. It's hard to dry out. And also I'd rather just have a nice jumper in there. And obviously I've got to undo the mic here now. Let's put you over there. Okay, there you go. So this would be replaced by a warm jumper, a fleece or something like that, which is always part of your complete equipment marching order, your CEMO. It's a warm jumper. Right, I've undone the top lid from the senior Bergen, and under the lid I have a pad to sleep on. Now that is part of the insulation for your kit. Now this isn't the British Army standard roll. I don't know what country this is. It could be Czech, I'm not too sure, but the actual foam is better insulated. The British Army one is good, it's tough, you're not going to feel any undulation from the ground, but this particular one, and it's rolled nice and tight, I'm not sure which country it's from, it's not the British one, but it's insulated. As you see, that one's Cadet, and it has the ribbon just like the British Army IXP mat. So good insulation there. I'm just going to have things like a sleeping bag in here, a bivvy and a basher, and obviously a warm jumper to put on, which I might just do right now. At the time of filming, it's not the warmest. The snow collar is totally unoccupied, so you can see I have a lot of space just having the basics. Remember guys, small amounts of the right kit, not a ton of kit. And we'll talk about that on a different video, because we can translate some of this kit to a camping arena using lighter kit. This is my bivvy bag. You can put your sleeping bag straight into this and use this like a pack liner, which is advisable, but for demonstration I've not done that. In here is a warm jumper to put on in a dry sack. Now I also have some underwear in there, and that's about it. Now if you're using this for bushcraft or wild camping or something, you can decide the volume of clothing you're going to take, but for an overnight stop, a warm jumper is plenty with some clean underwear. Longer trip duration, a total change of clothes, and that goes without saying, and that's whether it's part of your MO or wild camping. Fishing is generally overnight, and we all appreciate a clean pair of socks and maybe a warm jumper. Generally people who do their own fishing have their own kit anyway, but it's just one example. Now instead of me putting my sleeping bag inside the bivvy bag, I've got a dry sack in here. This is a 100-litre dry sack, of which there is barely taking up any space, and I have my sleeping bag in here. Remember to leave your sleeping bag compression sack back at your barracks or back at home. There's my sleeping bag. It is the full Fexka. This is the medium weight. I haven't bought the summer one, the lightweight. And here is extra thermals. Now these are the trouser sections here from the PCS, and I do have the jacket section as well, but I like to use these actually inside the sleeping bag in the winter and wear them just like pyjamas. But of course, if you are in the army or cadet force, you're going to be sleeping with all your BDUs anyway, and sometimes including your boots. So that is part of your insulation system. Of course, translating that to a camping environment, a lot of people would rather not have anything on next to the skin, and that's just fine. But for those people who watch wild camping videos and see guys who are dressed in the BDUs and even a jacket or a smock inside the sleeping bag, the first thing they're going to see is somebody doing that and saying that will not add an R value to your sleeping bag. But it's not the reason why people do that. You have to be combat ready which means you can't be combat ready getting out your sleeping bag in your underpants, and soldiers will often sleep with their rifle in the sleeping bag as well. That is, you know, how it's done, even with your boots on. But like I said, I am translating a lot of the idea from a CEMO and making it viable for civilians, for wild camping, and all this I've obtained from surplus shops. So, you know, you can do it that way or buy it online. I'm just going to pull out the whole sack here from the Bergen, and that is my sleeping bag in there, and there's nothing else. So you can see inside the actual main compartment was just really a jumper and a sleeping bag. Okay, there's no set rule or anything where anything goes in your Bergen, but like I said before, it's best to follow people who have a better experience. In my experience, keeping things for getting out the wind and the rain quickly would be the things I keep in the rocket pockets. So I have very quick access to put up a shelter above me using my basher, and I have access to put on a rain jacket, my rain trousers, very quickly without having to go in the pack and digging things out. So that is the reasoning why these things are on the outside in rocket pockets. But how much of it can be translated, scaled down to the Cadet Bergen when we pack it all back up? These are my pack lights trouser section. I've done a little bit of stitching there. I actually could do with getting some tape on that on the inside, and then putting some water sealant on that. I'll have to do that when I get in. Anyway, pack lights. I love pack lights because they are light and they pack small. Also, my rain jacket. This is a lot heavier. It could be in lieu of my smock, but this is waterproof, and that is what I would rather do. Have a slightly thicker waterproof smock and leave the other smock, the cotton one, at home for wild camping purposes. That is just my preference. There's a little extra room in there, in that side rocket pocket, where I can stow some food from the British Army ration pack, which is divided between your patrol pack, your webbing order and your Bergen. So I could pop in probably something for the evening meal in there as well. Generally things like your cook set and water is going to be on a webbing. That's why it's not featured in this video. I have, for camping purposes, put water in Bergens with the food, and it doesn't carry very well. So even for a bug out bag or a night camp bag, while camping, whatever your hobby is that you're out for the night, I really wouldn't advise putting your cook systems in Bergens. Get yourself a webbing, build it up to your own specifications. But I could, if I wanted, get a little beaker, the plastic beaker. You can use the 58 beaker or cook pot, or one of these. Now in my bug out bag is one of these, 2-part. Why do I have one of these and not the 58? I like to have a mess tin, because once you put the lid on that and you dig a hole and you have hot coals in, that makes an oven, and then you could just put whatever food you've caught into there and bury it with all the hot coals on, leave it 2 or 3 hours and just let it die down, all the heat. Once you dig that out, you've got roast rabbit with potatoes in and leek, whatever you want in that. It doesn't take anything. That is an oven. I very rarely fry in that. Or what you could do is put your ration pack in there, cover it with water. I wouldn't actually cook in there, i.e. let the food touch the actual bottom of the pan for frying purposes, but we'll come to that in a different video. But things like that are generally in a webbing anyway. Coming to the other side, what we spoke about was shelter. I need the ability to shelter quickly. And in here I do have some bungees and I hope some tent stakes, and I also have this setup here which changes my basher into a hammock with a roof. There's a video on how to do that on my channel. You don't need much at all, so just a couple of climbing grade rings and some genuine issue paracord. Pop down the bottom of your rocket pocket, standard shelter kit, sleep sheet, and you've got yourself a hammock set or a ground cover. Just want to make sure I do have some of the elements in here that I need, and this can be lightened a lot by foregoing these if you're just on a wild camp, which are your bungees, and replacing it with paracord. You could have jungle knots like that if you don't want to use these here, which are the bungees. I prefer these stakes, which are from the IPK. Super lightweight, but it's kind of pointless trying to get good kit lighter and making it heavier by carrying them. So for me, on a personal level, I'm going to leave the bungees at home, order some paracord to make jungle knots for either end of the tarp, and as you can see I've already made jungle knots for the tie out, which I would rather do just for a wild camp. Get my glasses on. So yeah, where am I up to? The smock I don't use. So that is my Bergen empty. I'm going to double check it is empty. I had shelter, insulation. Generally your cook set and water is going to be in the webbing, and we'll come to that on a different video. So that's me done with the Bergen, other than under the actual top lid here. This is where I keep things such as a fire making kit, ablutions kit, illumination. In there is my wash kit. Just quickly show you this. Now mine is in obviously a dry sack, and all it is an issue towel, and inside toothbrush, toothpaste, a razor, shaving foam, and your wet wipes. And that's all it is. Now you can actually go out and buy yourself a roll which has your toothbrush in and everything like that, but it's kind of a futile thing to buy yourself when everything could be rolled inside your towel. And it doesn't need to be a big dry sack like this. I've just run out of smaller dry sacks. So roll everything up, keep your towel dry. There's nothing worse than trying to dry yourself with a wet towel. So this I'm going to put aside as well, because that needs, everything here actually needs to go into that smaller Cadet Bergen. Is it going to go? Get yourself a warm jumper, so when you're stationary you can put yourself a nice fleece on. Mine is the PCS fleece, nice and warm. If you'd rather have something from the 80s pat, 90s pat, proper fleece, you can do that. The choice is yours. This is for your harbour area. I'm having that. In here also in a baggie is my t-shirt, socks and underpants, and depending on your trip duration is going to dictate what other clothes you need. But a t-shirt rolled inside is my antibacterial army issue trolleys, underpants, and tabbing socks. Don't know how that's got that mucky already, but get it bagged up. Again, you don't want to be putting on wet socks. Then get it into the dry sack and get your fleece in there. Whatever little warm top you want, it could be even a lightweight jumper. Get it in there, get the air out. Now comes the time we're going to put all this into a Cadet pack, and I'll show you how I do it. Whether you put your sleeping bag in first or your spare jumper, it really doesn't matter. Logic will dictate you're going to have your clothes on the top, but really you're only going to ever need that little warm jumper. Oop, nearly fell. You're only going to need that jumper and a change of underwear. Once you get to camp, you're going to be unpacked anyway, so this can go down the bottom. I've got all the air out. Doesn't take up much space at all. So here's where I'm putting mine. I want to try and keep to the same idea. I'm going to put my rain gear on the outside. Now, rather than keep the dry liner, what I'll do is get the bivvy bag, and I'm going to put my sleeping bag inside it. And then that way you don't need your 100 liner, although I prefer it. I prefer my liners really, other than doing this. Sleeping bag in, right down to the bottom. Shake it down, and then treat your pack like a stuffed sack. And let's get the sleeping bag and bivvy in together. This is how you'd be packing in the morning if you have to go quickly. You wouldn't be putting anything into stuffed sacks, and this enabled you to have a quick strike down. And my underwear and spare set of shirts or fleece are at the bottom, and pretty much that could be you done with room to spare. Yeah, there is room to spare as well. Before I put anything on the top, we still have things such as the shelter kit. Now I'm going to include the bungees, although I'm going to take them out when I get home. And let's just see how much room your smaller pack has for your cadets. Entire system. If you want to bag this up, you can. I just don't see the relevance. There's going to be no damp transference, because remember, you've got your sleeping bag inside your bivvy bag, and your clothing is bagged up separate. And there's a little drawer toddle there, and that is an entire shelter kit. The minute I get to camp, put that up, get myself nice and dry, then put my system up, which is the sleep system. Pack lights, trouser section, that's going in. Again, access to them when it rains, when I need them. I was toying with the idea of getting the pack lights smock, but this is a little tougher and a little warmer, so it all depends if you're going to be a warm person, cold person. Now these are not 10-litre rockets. I should imagine they're half that. I should imagine probably 5 litres, maybe even less, and yet I still have all the wets on the outside and the dries on the inside. So this is going to be one of them videos for people who still want to keep some of the heavy elements of military kit and somehow go lighter, and this is the way to do it. So I like to carry small amounts of the right kit, and often the heavier kit will be the army kit. You want to go any lighter than this, we'll be looking in another video at doing exactly the same, scaling down to civilian kit, which is a bit costly. Right, see what kind of lids and zips I have here for the top. I do have things like my illumination in that top there. Really, that should be in the webbing. Now I've also put a bungee on the front of this because I'd prefer to carry the pad on the front. I'm going to show you two ways just to prove to you that that is gone on. What you do, give it a knee on top, pull your straps, sleeping bag, change your clothes, pad, waterproofs. There's not a lot to it really. Another way that I prefer is a bungee on the front here, plonk both down at the same time so it doesn't exceed the depth of the pack. Elastic there, pad on the front, and I still have a bit of extra room. Now remember, things like this are in the webbing. Okay, let's turn this on, and we've got 9.5 kilos, a saving 3 kilos. Bearing in mind, of course, that empty, the CS95 is 4.5 kilos empty, not even a toothbrush in. You still got to carry that weight before you even add in your sleeping bag or anything else. How comfortable is this? What kind of pack is it? This is the Cadet Bergen. This is MOD approved. As an adult, it fits my back. I've got a long back at 19.5 inches, so I know what you're thinking. Yeah, if I'm tall, this isn't going to ride very nice. It doesn't have a back frame, so it is a backpack and not a ruck. Okay, there's kind of load lifters on. I wouldn't even bother with them, just use it like a pack. I've used it just as it is for a sleeping bag, a shelter, and then I have actually had a stove and some food in here and left the webbing at home, but that's going to be your decision if you're wild camping, that is. We're going to come back to the webbing on a different episode with this very setup, but let's get it on the back, see how it feels. I am carrying the weight, bearing it on my shoulders, unlike the Bergen, where you can displace the weight on your hips, and a lot of that weight is resting on your webbing order anyway. So what are we to take away from this? This video is very much dedicated for someone who wants to use military kit and somehow magically get it lighter so it's easier to carry. However, if you're a prepper, you're going to want to keep that Bergen and keep all the elements in, and that is the difference between somebody who's using a Bergen to bug out and somebody who wants to use military kit and yet get it lighter for recreational purposes. So that is the intention here of this video. So using military kit, getting it lighter, is a case of small amounts of the right kit, not a ton of kit you don't need. The key here is to ride it quite high up, and then when you've got your webbing on, loosen it, ride it on top of your webbing. Without webbing, just keep pulling on them straps. I wouldn't even bother with the waistband. So this is the kind of order that, on a personal level, as an older boy, I don't want to carry an excessive 3 kilos. I don't need to. Just to put up a shelter, throw a bag on the ground and have something to eat and get some kit for the night. That's my only intention. So something like this on my back is going to be the fella for me. So what I'll be doing is taking the Bergen home and dressing it for a bug out, a 3-day bug out, 72 hours. Remember, what's going to dictate how long you take your pack out is how much food you're carrying, and then how much wearables you want to take for that amount of time. 3 days you can have ration packs split between your webbing and your Bergen. It's quite easy, that especially on the webbing. A lot of people seem to think that a bug out bag is for months at a time. That's not going to happen like that. For that kind of thing, you're going to need something like a long-term wilderness survival pack, and that is very different, and I'm in this process of building one of them up. And that kind of pack is going to be more scaled to bushcraft, where I will have things like a saw in it, so I can take some of these trees and build a wickie up, and even have a heated shelter using some kind of rocket mass heater inside the wickie up. Remember, with a bug out bag, you're bugging out with the intention of coming back in just a day or so. As where my other wilderness survival pack, I might not be coming back at all. Okay, I'm gonna have to wrap it up here. It started raining, and although I have waterproofs and all the kit is going to be waterproof, the mic set is not waterproof, and neither is the camera. So until next time, take care of yourself. I'll see you out there. Happy trails.